Hi, my name's David Thiel. I'm here in my studio in the Pacific Northwest. I've been creating music, sound effects, and dialogue for coin-operated amusement devices over 4 decades, and I primarily create those assets for pinball machines. I'd like to share with you my take on how we got from where we started to where we are today. Here's a very quick review of some of the machines I've worked on.
The modern pinball machine has its origins in the bagatelle games. The only sound involved in these is the sound of a ball rolling around inside a wooden box. There was much innovation after World War II in pinball. In 1947, Gottlieb introduced a machine with flippers. The sound is typical for its time. Bells for big scoring. You're hearing the sounds of the game's programming implemented in solenoids and relays. Pinball has always had a strong connection with the cultural memes of its time. In 1976, Bally based a pinball machine on the Who's Tommy.
Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball from Shaw down to Brighton.
And the Tommy pinball sounds like. In the late 70s, solid-state electronics began replacing all the electromechanical mechanisms. Meanwhile, at Williams, a software-based technique results in a unique voice for pinball. Meanwhile, over at Gottlieb, music is used in a most regrettable manner. The coin-op business is a novelty business, and pinball machines are now making sounds that nobody has ever heard before. Bally scored big in 1980 by being the first pinball machine with a woman's voice. Speech becomes more than a novelty when it tells the player what to shoot for.
Shoot for 7-0 side pocket. Get the C, 7 ball. Sink the 8 ball.
Haunted House featured 3 playfields. And used the continuous background, sometimes music, to identify where the ball was. When the ball goes up on the left side and hits the spinner, it starts a drum fill that's synced with the music. But up to 1986, creating something that sounded like music was fraught with difficulty given the simple and memory-constrained 8-bit systems of the time. But in 1986, Yamaha changed everything. Keep in mind, everything you hear coming out of a pinball machine in this time is being created by the pinball machine using some kind of synthesis technique. FM synthesis is an incredibly deep and powerful synthesis method, and this is how I used it for Laser War. Now that we can make something that sounds like music, pinball companies start licensing assets from the real world. Compression hardware has provided a way to also use pre-recorded audio as part of the package.
Return to the 70s. Jackpot. 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 You win the game.
By 1993, transistors have gotten small enough and there's enough power and enough storage to use advanced compression techniques so that the sound generation can move into the studio out of the pinball machine.
Indiana Jones is the first game to use our new DCS soundboard. DCS stands for Digital Compression System, and it represents the greatest leap forward ever made in game audio. Indiana Jones, the Pinball Adventure. It's not just a game.
One of the things I really love about the action figure is how he sings in sync with the music. Just check this out.
With the SAM system, Stern has a platform for audio that can now support music games with very little compromise.
Muscling its way up the chart, Love is Strong. You're so sweet.
Took a while to figure out how to do it right, but when they did, they produced a big hit. A pinball based on Metallica followed in short order. Pinball and music has come a long way since Bally's 1978 Kiss Pinball. Meanwhile, technology marches on, and the modern solid-state disk drive provides so much storage we might as well consider it infinite.
I think our little game ends here.
The challenge for the modern pinball audio creator is to put as much meaning and emotion into the music assets for a pinball as possible.
This is an autopsy of the piece that I wrote for Ambush Multiball for Alien Pin. This is an action scene where the xenomorphs are attacking our Space Marines. First section sounds like this. Melody is composed of brass, primarily, augmented by some strings. The low brass is the primary instrument. Then there's a line underneath that played by trumpets. Keeps creeping up to make it a bit more tense. Then, in my mind, the xenomorphs sound like strings played with a Bartok articulation. So you put that together, then we need something creepy, because this is, after all, Alien. So we go to some strange articulations in the second strings. Okay, that ought to do it. Then we need some rhythm. This is pinball after all. We augment that with some cymbals. And we're channeling James Horner, not infringing on his copyrights, but he really likes to use anvils hit with hammers. So let's listen to that. Okay, so then the rhythm get down, get back up again. So the whole thing, Section A, Section B is a section that goes between one part and another, and it features some nice cellos. Dissonance. Right, then there's the section C. Again, featuring those Bartok strings doing Xeno riffs. Then we do something different with the low brass in section D. which is our Marines trying to get it together, and with the percussion, it starts getting pretty heavy. But then I believe these Xenos come back, because there's so many of them. And in the final section, we have the Marines trying to get it together, all together, going up in a figure played by the brass and the Bartok strings.
And finally, what's wrong here? The two guys in that scene are playing Mustang, and I know what it sounds like. I did it in 2014.
Mystery car!
Pinball machines haven't used bells and chimes for over 40 years, yet they are always presented this way. At least you and I know they can sound great. Thanks for paying attention today, and have a great show.